Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm Paul Wadlington. That's Ian Boyd. And we're going to provide your daily dose of goodness about the Longhorns and whatever else we want to talk about. But first, if you want to be a part of the best conversation of Texas football, Texas sports, Texas baseball, Texas basketball, it's all happening in Texas. $1 for 4 months at Inside Texas, the premier place to have your Longhorn, college football, and heck, just about anything kind of conversation. Come join us. It is the premier place for UT sports. And we really want you to join us this Friday, 3 p.m. Left center field scoreboard on the UT tennis courts. Right between there's a grassy area. So right behind the baseball stadium, the dish, and between the UT tennis courts, there is going to be a setup of an Inside Texas tailgate, 3 p.m. Friday. Look towards Comau. You'll see the big old banner that says Inside Texas. And you can win an amazing Texas tailgate giveaway courtesy of Academy Sports and Outdoors. Look at the amazing offer they have here. You've got a Blackstone Omnivore griddle. You got Yeti Roadie hard coolers. You got a flag canopy. You got Texas folding chairs. You got Yeti Rambler tumblers. This is unbelievable. I wish I was eligible, but I'm not. But you are. Go join the Inside Texas tailgate. Be a part of the giveaway. Have a great time. Ian, let's have a great time talking and answering some questions from our esteemed community that we weren't able to cover on our last Q&A. And without any further ado, start us off, Mr. Boyd.
Our first question asks, will Wingo, that'd be Ryan Wingo, I assume, take that next giant step to be a true number one this season? Maybe.
Next question, Connor. Will Wingo take the next giant step to be the true number one this year? What does he need to do to improve, Ian? We both love Wingo. There's a lot of things that he can do athletically on the field, just being a great athlete. But pure receiver skills, pure get openness, he's got to work on some stuff to be the true number one threat. What does he need to work on specifically?
Release. The big one. Yeah, that release is so much of high-level receiving because you only have like an instant to get where the quarterback expects you to be, and then the ball is coming, and you're either there or you're not. So, like, especially like when you see whenever it's draft season or like recruiting season, you'll see the stupidest videos go viral on Twitter of a dude executing some route that has like 30 head fakes to put the defender in a blender. And it's like, that's great, but your quarterback was sacked an hour ago. And he doesn't, he never got to see this cool move you put on.
It's even better when it's the like 7-on-7 type formats where there's no rush and the receiver hand fights and does 9 hip and head fakes at the line of scrimmage before releasing inside. And everyone goes, ooh. And as you said, in a game, the quarterback would be on his back. So I don't think Wingo does that, but I think his ability to get clean releases is important. Right. Also, he needs to establish a downfield identity, meaning he either needs to separate and catch the ball down the field on posts and go routes, or he needs to show that he can win balls in the air. Some of that might have been impacted by the balls that were thrown to him, but it'll be interesting, but he definitely needs to level up. He's also was a true freshman last year, so there's no question that he's going to improve. But I think the release is kind of where Ian is right on. That's something we're going to need to monitor in August, September, early in the season to see if that's something that he's improved upon.
He'll probably have big stats, though, even if he doesn't do that, because he'll just get a lot of easy yards on screens and RPOs and stuff where the skill level doesn't matter. It's just you get to be the guy that gets targeted on this stuff, and Sark's going to, make it easy.
He's pretty good at being big, athletic, and fast.
Yep. He's going to do that very well.
Yeah. All right, next question. What is driving Sark's shift away from the small, speedy receivers to bigger, taller receivers? Feels like he's always done well with the small, speedy types, but that may be a misconception. So what do you think? Do you agree with the premise of the question?
Yeah, I think that there has been. I mean, like this last class included a few guys that were highly rated, but they were bigger ball winners, like Lockett and French. Um, Blanking on the class before. Wingo is pretty fast, but he's a bigger guy. Parker Livingstone is a bigger guy. None of these guys are slow. They're still very fast, but they're not like he's thinking of like Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Xavier Worthy, little guys that are like my weight, but run the 100 meters closer to 10 than 11 seconds kind of guys. And I don't know. I have a few theories on why that shift is happening. One is that he hired Chris Jackson from the NFL, and Chris Jackson is the main guy doing the evals and receivers now. And in the NFL, the 168-pound burner has more limited utility than the bigger guy that can, get the release we just talked about outside and whatnot. So I think part of that may be Jackson. If there's something that's motivating Sark, I'm not sure what else it would be.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a history he has coached big receivers before.
Yeah.
Mike Williams at USC.
Uh,
You recall he was a big possession receiver. He coached Julio Jones at Atlanta.
Yep.
Pretty big dude, pretty fast. So yeah, I think it's best available combined with a little bit of a tactical shift in body types. That said, if there's a guy who's 5'10", 170 and Rondale Moore type guy, who you can't get your hands on in space, Sark will take that guy. I don't think he's got a specific profile of receiver, but I do think he does like some of these guys that can be physical also as run blockers. I think that helps his run game, because what we're going to see, and we'll see it a lot with Arch Manning, the too high is really starting to perpetuate in the college game. And I think we're going to see quite a bit of that with Arch. So if you have the ability to block on the perimeter with your receivers and then run against a honest or a light box, there's a lot of opportunities in the run game there that you don't necessarily get a chance to exploit when your receiver's 5'9", 160. So I think that's a big part of it as well.
I did get some scoop that they feel like they have some guys on campus that can help them do that. And that is absolutely something they value, is being able to bring the receivers in like McVay or Shanahan.
Yep.
And then you just create all kinds of new problematic angles and congestion in the run game for the defense to account for. You bring those little corners in to make them tackle.
Also, I'll say one thing about those sets, those sort of bunch sets near the tackle, like close to the quarterback. There are times, and the receivers are game, they'll go do it. There's times when you get matched up with a linebacker or even an edge, you're not expected to win. You're expected to get in the guy's way and be like a nuisance as he flings you out of the way on the way to the football. You're slowing him up, and you're a lot better being able to do that if you're 6'2", 205 than if you're 5'8", 165. So I think that's a factor as well. Good call on the bunch formations. I got a bunch of opinions about where you should go if you want to go get a mortgage. That guy is Gabe Winslow. In fact, I've only got one opinion, but I got a bunch of opinions about his excellence, because we hear from all of our viewers and our listeners and our readers that Gabe takes care of you. He is a Longhorn legend in the mortgage market. He's also a Longhorn grad, 20 years in the industry, former National Merit Scholar. He has a law degree, really, really excellent at what he does. And he's really able to help you in the process far beyond just getting your mortgage done or the loan part done. That's the easy part. There are often a lot of sources of friction when you buy a house, and Gabe is expert in getting rid of those things and diffusing them so you can realize your dream of home ownership. Give him a call. Find out why brokers are better. He shops your loan to over 60 different lenders. When you go to your big bank, 1, they don't care about you. 2, they work bankers hours. And 3, they shop it to one lender, Ian. Do you want 60 people bidding for your business or 1?
I want 60.
We want 60. Call Gabe Winslow, 832-557-1095, or go to his website, Mortgages by Gabe, and tell him that Ian Boyd sent you. All right, let's move on. We got more questions.
Y'all discussed this on a roundtable podcast last offseason. Suppose Texas can only, quote, circle, unquote, 3 games next season. Meaning prepare a targeted game plan and bring like your highest level intensity. Which 3 games should those be?
So let's discuss them in turn. I think one we'll have agreement on simply because of not only the prominence, but also the positioning in the schedule allows you to do a lot of prep for it. As we saw with Michigan, as we saw with Alabama the year prior. I think it's Ohio State, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that first big non-conference game is always going to be one of the 3, because this just why would you not? You almost cannot help but put extra attention on that game.
Well, I think it's something you're using as a motivator. You're also going to use it as an opportunity to kind of show your skills and how you break things down. Ohio State will be interesting because they're going to have a different philosophy on defense from Jim Knowles. I actually thought our game plan against their defense was very good. It was confounded by a couple of things, namely Golden getting banged up, did us no favors.
Yeah.
But I thought Sark's basic game plan was really good. I mean, the stuff with Jaden Blue, he identified in film. That's something you and I had talked about before the game. When they bring those backers, you have to punish them. Before they can get to Quinn, you've got to punish him by releasing Blue up the seam and throwing it to him. And that's what we did successfully. And then successful dropping back and throwing it to Golden until he got hurt. So I think we're going to have a different game plan. What do you think we're going to do defensively? I'm kind of curious about that, Ian.
I think they're going to throw the kitchen sink at Julian Sand. Remember when they played Bryce Young in 2022? They had just installed the Gary Patterson like match quarters defense, but they ran like the most complicated version of it in terms of like the amount of blitzing and how often they brought guys from different angles and what they did behind it. That was one of the more complex defensive game plans they probably had all year. And that was for Bryce Young. Bryce Young just ran around the blitzers and made plays and beat them anyway, eventually. Julian Sand doesn't have that gear to his game. He's not immobile, but he's a little more fixed back there. And he's also like, I was watching I know you all saw their spring game. I was laughing so hard when their announcers were like, listed at 6'1". I think that's probably more like 6 foot or 5'11". Yeah, I want that guy trapped in the pocket with pressure coming at him from different angles from start to finish.
It's going to be exciting because defensively, we're going to have answers. We're going to have edge rushers. I think we're going to be able to cover some. We've got certainly linebackers, right? But we're going to be on a little bit of a live wire because if we bring the heat, which we should, there's going to be some opportunities for them in the passing game, right? Their receivers. Because the one thing I did take away from their spring game, their receiving core is just excellent. Like they had second teamers that would clearly start for every team in college football, but maybe 10.
Maybe Texas.
Maybe Texas. Yeah. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, their second string receivers would be the starting receivers at Penn State, right? Just really impressive at what they've done there receiving and in recruiting. But I think you choke that thing off at the head. I don't think you try to play coverage. I think you try to blow up saying and get insane goes.
Not like they did against Will Howard where they played cover 2 the whole game.
Yeah.
Brackett, Smith. I think if you're playing them in the end of the year, that's what you do.
Yep.
Week 1, yeah. And then, okay, so I have all these Ohio State thoughts in my head now, but we need to save them.
Yep, we got to go to the next couple. I think
Oklahoma every year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you have to. You've got to prep for that game. You've got to have something special. I think Sark has been up to the game, particularly on offense, and we've had some cool special teams, trick plays, things like that. It's just a game that matters. It's important. You need to win that game.
Even when they're bad, like last year.
When they're bad, you need to take it to them. Like that's just as important. You don't want to squeak it out either.
And it's like, I mean, we've been on the other side where Texas came into that game as the bad team and gave Texas just a hellish afternoon. Gave Oklahoma a hellish afternoon, even if they came up short in the end. And they beat Baker Mayfield once.
Yep.
With a team that had no business competing with a Baker Mayfield Oklahoma.
I think my last one, I'm going to be boring and stick with a rival in state. I'm going to go Texas A&M. It's tempting to say Georgia, but I do think that there's a time window where you can put in some extra prep for A&M. And I also think beating them here is important. We can lose to Georgia and still play for the SEC title or have our playoff ambitions. A&M maybe a little wrench, depending on how their season plays out.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think you're right. They do have a bye week before Florida and a bye week before Georgia, but I'm sneaking Oklahoma and A&M prep into those.
Yep.
And I think in the playoff era, bad losses hurt you so much relative to losing. I mean, if you lose on the road to Georgia, that's not going to stain your record that much.
Yeah, losing at home to A&M late, because there's not only is there a loss column bias that we're still trying to overcome, there's a recency bias. If we lose to Ohio State, all is forgiven in November if we're playing well, right? And we win a bunch of games. You lose to A&M at home late, and you're on the bubble, maybe the committee might hold that against you. So
win the games you're supposed to win, beat your rivals, go to the playoffs, and then you can worry about stacking high-intensity games against high-intensity opponents.
Well said. All right. Well, sometimes it's important, not only in football, but in life and business and everything, to be able to flip the battlefield. In other words, you have a plan, but they have a plan too. The opponent, the enemy has a plan. Let's talk about the other side of this. What's the flip side? Corollary. Which opponents next year, given the same 3-game constraint, circle their game with Texas? So I can tell you there's going to be more than 3 teams that circle their game with Texas. But if we want to choose our most prominent 3, Ohio State is going to be one of them, I think. I'm pretty certain about that.
Yep.
I think Florida.
Yes.
I think this is a big proving ground for Billy Napier, DJ Lagway. If Lagway's playing as well as he's capable of and he stays uninjured, they're going to have something for us in Gainesville. Guaranteed. And then, I don't know, you start with your third, and I'll see if we agree on that.
I mean, Texas was unlucky enough to get Georgia in this situation last year. You had promised us all offseason that now Texas is in the SEC, there wouldn't be teams on jihad against Texas all the time.
Yeah.
You lied to us.
I did.
I mean, that not really. That one was just kind of, Georgia was backed into a corner. I mean, that's almost what you have to look out for.
I think our choices are Georgia, OU, and A&M.
Well, A&M and OU are going to circle Texas.
I mean, you just have to assume it. So, of those 3, which is the most prominent threat? I guess probably Georgia. It's
going to be there's a chance that that's a night primetime game. I think
in Athens,
and both teams might be coming off a bye. And from what I can see of their roster, I think they're going to be competing for another SEC championship. So it's got to be that one. A&M, though, I'm sure we'll talk about them at some point this offseason. A&M will be improved this year.
Yeah.
By a lot, probably. Unless Elko is like just totally unless it's totally out of control down there.
I think John Mateer gives OU an opportunity in any game because dual threats can be a real handful in the college game.
Mm-hmm.
He is a guy that could literally carry the ball 25 times and throw it 40, and just try to hero ball his way to victory, and just lay it out. And he's a good athlete, not a super slick thrower, but I think he's much faster than people think. If you didn't watch Washington State,
Here's the only thing with that. I agree with all of that, but he had a pretty high sack rate playing against whoever Washington State plays against now.
Yeah.
And do you remember Chris Applewhite on Barking Carnival? He had this like pregame thing before Texas played the Ndamukong Suh, Nebraska. And he was like, if you are a dual threat quarterback who's not quite as fast as he thinks and is used to making things happen, Ndamukong Suh in Nebraska is the worst team you could face.
Yeah.
Ndamukong Suh is faster than you are. And sure enough, Colt McCoy was sacked like 30 times or something. And I wonder with Mateer trying to put the weight of Oklahoma on his shoulders, but then Trey Moore, Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill are chasing him around. Maybe all at the same time because Oklahoma doesn't have the tight ends to make Texas play a more traditional package. There's a recipe for humiliation and pain.
I don't think they're going to have him creating. I think there's going to be a lot of quarterback lead, quarterback draw, trying to take advantage of our edges, trying to get up the field and make something happen. But yeah. Kwiatkowski makes his edges play pretty disciplined. We don't just let our guys fly. So that'll be an interesting game. I mean, look, it's OU Texas, A&M versus Texas. They want this game, but I think the school that might surprise y'all that'll be a part of this is Florida. Like, I think that's a big deal. I think they're going to spend reps this summer working Texas. That's how I think. That's how I think is going to go down.
Possible.
Yep. I think if they got 2 games circled next year, it's Georgia and Texas. That from Florida's perspective. So
yeah, they got to protect the swamp.
They got to protect the swamp. The swamp has been violated too much of late. All right, let's go to our next question. Will our red zone touchdown percentage versus Power 5 teams be below 47%, about the same, better, 58 to 67%, or much better, 68% plus, and why? And the reason that question was asked is I think we have a helpful graphic which illustrates where we compare to various college football peers in terms of red zone touchdown percentage. Oregon, exceptional, not surprising. Notre Dame shouldn't surprise you given their offensive line, their running backs, and Riley Leonard. Bama, yeah, Milroe. Ohio State, obviously. UGA, Penn State. You're seeing a lot of good teams here. ASU, you had Scatabo. That really helped. And then you start to fall off, right? Clemson, Texas, LSU. Ooh, LSU really struggled. So did Ole Miss. Holy cow. How did South Carolina struggle like that in the red zone with Lenore Sellers? They have a 245-pound dual threat quarterback. That's weird. Right? Like, we got to show them some old Tom Herman, Sam Ellinger plays, right?
That's tough.
All right, so Texas's percentage in the red zone sucked, to be honest. It was not up to par. So are we going to be better, significantly better, or about the same?
You notice that those top 4 teams all had dual threat quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So did the bottom team, but you see, like, and then what? Tennessee's at Tennessee at 50%. This font.
Yeah, I think that's Tennessee.
I don't know what's with this font. LSU had a more of a pocket passer. Tennessee had the $1 million man, Nico Yamaliava. I think Arch guarantees that it's better. And I think it better.
Explain that mechanically. Are we running QB power with Arch Manning?
I might run like zone read. Just to mix it in there. I think the interior line will be better. They'll get better push on the inside runs. Also,
I think that's going to combo with Arch Manning doing some little play action stuff in the end zone.
yeah,
We run the ball inside, and then I think we're going to fake it. Arch is going to threaten the edge, and if that guy's collapsing, he's going to run it in. If that guy plays it honest, Arch is going to flip it to our new tight end. And that's how we're going to convert a bunch of cheap touchdowns. What do you think?
yes. I also think the red zone was unforgiving for Quinn's tendency to struggle to get through progressions and keep his feet going. Now he was
good early in the year and then really struggled late. I mean, if you remember the A&M game, holy cow, he threw a pick six and then he had a fumble. Ohio State, obviously a tough play. That was less his fault, I think.
Yeah.
But he was shaky in the red zone, and we lost some trust in him. You could tell.
He had great placement on the fades and the corner routes in the RPO game.
Or that golden pylon throw. Oh, my God.
The rollouts were amazing.
Beautiful.
But those are also kind of predetermined shots.
Yes.
Texas had a ton of red zone plays where if the predetermined shot wasn't there, things could go really south.
Agreed.
And take a sack or a turnover. All of that should be better. So
assign a percentage here, Ian.
Yeah. I mean, that 58 to 67 is a huge range. I am borderline 68% or better.
I'm going to say 64.3%.
Great.
Okay. That's the correct answer. And you're going higher than that?
Looking at the teams that were higher than 68%, I'm just going to go 68% plus. I feel good about that.
All right. I like it. I like this unbridled optimism here in the deep dive. The ebullient Ian Boyd fired up about our red zone prospects. Folks, that's been this deep dive. Can't thank you enough. Thanks for submitting your questions. Hey, you guys make sure you go up, hit that tailgate at 3 p.m. outside the dish, between the dish and the tennis courts. Look for the Inside Texas banner and take advantage of that great academy promotion. And make sure, if you're in the market for a mortgage, call Gabe Winslow. Thanks, y'all. We appreciate it, and hook 'em.